Hi, everybody. This is Patrick Driggett with the BS of the Week here in the Big Sky. We have a special edition with a special guest, and let's introduce everybody who's here. Kevin?
Hi there, I'm Kevin Lewsey from the Rushmores. Glad to be with you tonight. And Tad?
Tad from the Sisu Sixtysixers. Glad to be here.
And Conrad here as well from Venice Rivets.
Oh, Conrad. Coach Whittingham, or should I say Coaches Whittingham in your household? I feel like that might be more appropriate. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, Colin was invited but wasn't able to make it tonight. So, but we appreciate, we really wanted to get the bowl participants here. But Conrad, thank you for making it here. And we're just very excited to have you. Thank you for mentioning us in your own bowl game response. That was an honor for us, I think, to be mentioned. So thank you. And we're just going to dig right into this analysis. We don't want to, we don't have an hour episode here. So Kevin, why don't you start with your analysis on the Big Sky Bowl?
Okay. Well, basically what happened in terms of the figures was Calgary basically had a 71 rating in the bowl, yet in the divisional playoff game, he had a 158 rating. He had a 61% completion rate in the bowl, and in the divisional playoff game, he had a 90% completion rate. So basically, one of the problems with the Hornets is that they're pretty one-dimensional. And if that one dimension doesn't work, there is no plan B. And that, unfortunately, is exactly what happened in this game. We've got to ask, Calgary is now 7 years old. Is this a game too far for him? Was this his best shot at a bowl? We'll find out next season, but it may well have been. If I take you through the first five plays where the Hornets had the ball, then you'll see what I mean. Because basically in drive number one, it was 3 and out. In drive number two, they threw an interception, which was returned for a touchdown. In drive number three, there was a fumble after a completed pass. Drive number four, missed field goal. Drive number five, once again, 3 and out. And to make matters worse, there was a blocked punt. The point I'm making is that when things didn't go right, there was no alternative other than just to carry on throwing it. So that really was what happened in the game. Obviously, we can't take anything away from Conrad's defense, which were pretty awesome. But if you've only got one option, it makes it very difficult when things don't go correctly. And I think that's what happened in the game. Tad, what are your thoughts?
I think your thoughts are spot on. And one thing about the Super Bowl and Mr. Conrad there, how you win a game? Well, simple. If you can start your team in your opponent's half of the field, you're going to win. He did that 8 out of 16 drives. He was into his opponent's down the field. Then he was starting on his 20. His opponent was only one time in the opponent's on the field out of 17 drives, and he controlled the clock 61% of the time. You do that, you're gonna pretty much win any game. Like, we can look at his quarterback, who only had 2,000 yards passing on the season. Emu, 1,500 yards. Monk, 800 yards. And then he got a wide receiver, Rugsley, I believe how you pronounce it, 1,500 yards. Not a whole lot of yards compared to other quarterbacks out there, and the running backs getting 2, 3, 4,000 yards. But when those 4 players get 70 touchdowns, you're going to win a whole crap load of games. So basically, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, it's like between his defense and his special teams getting him that great field position, he just walks to the end zone and laughs. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, Emu and Monk, right? I looked at the stats there for rushing, right? And overall, a 5.9 yard per carry. Doesn't matter what zone you're attacking or anything. If both of your, combined attributes give you that, I mean, you're just going to have troubles, right? It takes 2 rushes to get a first down, based off of my, American math. I'm not too good here, but I'm pretty sure we get 10 yards there. And then I think you brought it up, Kevin, the interception early, but 2 interceptions overall. because of that one-dimensionalness of the Giant Hornets, Calgary won, our player of the week a couple weeks ago, and very well deserved, but Conrad knew what to attack there. And I think that whatever the game plan was, and I'm sure Conrad will let us know, but, I think that allowed the game to open up when you control the clock, like you said, Tad, with the running backs, and then you have a defense that can stop that one-dimensional attack of the Hornets. That was a recipe for success. And I was very wrong in my prediction. Kevin and I were both wrong. I think, again, that was probably more wishful thinking than reality, but Conrad made a good show of it with the Rivets. And Conrad, off to you. Let's hear about what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, I think we've got a strong team that has no massive weaknesses on any of the three phases, and that's been the absolute secret to it, I think. So on offense, it's that thing of none of the stats, as I said, it's that thing of none of the stats. If you look at Emu running or passing with Harris, whatever, none of them are top of the league. They're good, but they're not amazingly great. And it's that thing of we've got great balance and a real spread. So it's hard to stop us completely, because if you stop the inside run, then we get away lots of long passes. If you stop the outside run, we've still got inside and long passes and some shorts, everything. So we can attack all four zones. So it's really tough for defenses. But with our defense, I think the opponents here, they were really, really unlucky because of the way they play. Because when originally, going back now, 6 seasons when started in Big Sky, what I did when looking at kind of the team and how we were going to build the team, I looked and thought, okay, if you're ever going to try and win a bowl, then you've got to win your conference. And to win your conference, first, you've got to win your division. So the first thing I looked at was in my division, tried to see, okay, what are the teams who look like they're going to be the best in that division the next few seasons? What do they do? And I'm going to try and build my team to stop that. And then thought, okay, if I can win a division, I'll be in the conference. Who are the best teams in the conference? What do they do? So what on defense do we need to do and build up the strengths in to stop? And the best teams over the recent seasons seem to be Newcastle Eagles and definitely Beverly Bay Packers. And both of those are big short zone attacks. So from day one and the very first draft and all the coaching over the last 6 seasons, I've absolutely tried to make sure I built up a strong short zone defense, because if we were ever going to win the conference, we've got to take down brilliant teams that are great at the short zone. So getting to the bowl, we then played a team that they're massive short zone, but they don't really do anything else. And if they do anything else, it was just like screen passes outside, which was the other area we built up a lot, because there's a couple of amazing, as we've seen on the trade board, amazing outside runners in the Big Sky. So whether it be Davies at his level 24 or whatever he is now, or also the Packers have a great outside running back. Again, if you can't stop that, you're not going to win the conference. So almost defensively, the areas that focused on were short zone and outside run. And here, playing in the bowl happened to be a team who are massive short zone and through the screen passes outside. So I think I was just actually quite lucky in that the opponent I was taking on played right into our defensive strengths. And they didn't, because of the way their roster is, they don't really, because of the focus on that, they're so strong on that. But if you can stop it, they didn't have enough other stuff to be able to kind of pick us apart. So yeah, I think overall, the team strengths were such that they kind of faced the wrong person in the bowl. They were just really unlucky to come up against us when our team is built to pretty much stop them.
Yeah, thank you for the insights. That's great stuff. Yeah. Well, we have you here. I know everyone is curious about Conrad brain. And so we have some questions for you. Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, okay. Well, but basically what I was going to ask is, what special plans did you put in place for the Calgary trips and Davis and the short pass game? But as you say, you probably trained up for that or coached up for that. So what advice can you give somebody as to how you actually stop that receiving fullback?
Okay, yeah, it's really, really difficult. It's a bit like, I think receiving running backs and receiving tight ends are hard to stop, but receiving anything short zone to start with. Kind of thought, well, Tripson seems to catch a lot of option passes, which are really hard to stop because there's not many stances you can do for that. But he also catches a lot of short passes and quick passes. And for those, you can drop your cornerbacks into man under. And that can really push up the auto incomplete. So you can get a lot more incomplete. So whereas in the championship game, I think the previous week, Calgary was like, I think you mentioned 90% completion.
Yep.
Straight away with our quarterbacks, we're knocking off, call it about 15% on his completions straight away by putting those in man under. And then everything else is just increments after that defensively. So if you can, because we knew he wasn't going to run, we could pass rush the defensive ends, which again impacts not just getting sacks, but increases the auto incomplete a little bit because you've got a bit more pass rush. And that all helps. And then by dropping the outside linebackers in pass drop short, that again added another chunk to the auto incompletes against things like the quick passes and screens. So what it was trying to do, we only got him down to 60%, but that was enough. And it was that thing of all these little bits are just increments. So it's thinking on defensive line what you can do to help, and then thinking linebackers what you can do to help, and then thinking secondary, again, are there stances you can put for each of the players that will help, that you won't get picked apart with something else. And because he didn't really have a viable running game, then I just trusted that even with pass focused stances, he wouldn't run all over us, which is kind of how it worked out. So I think defensively, that was how we played. It was very much thinking, okay, we can go all out on the defensive line, linebackers and secondary to stance them to really try and slow down his short pass.
Oh my God, I have a lot to learn. That's what I
So that was the way. And you've got
Talking
to have the players
of
to do it. That's the thing. And we've got a really good kind of mixed QST nickelback. So not very trendy, and his QSTs are pretty even. So he's not great, but as a nickelback, he's fab because he just adds to everything on that pass D. So that helped as well. He added a lot to the short zone strength.
Yeah. As I say, Conrad, thank you for that. I have an awful lot to learn. And talking of which, it looks as if in Big Sky we're going to get a lot of new coaches coming on board this season. What advice can you give them as to when they actually start the game, or anyone that's new to the game? What advice would you say would help them, you think? Okay,
I think that the thing that I've found, because I started years ago in the Continental, and in the first few seasons there, I made loads and loads of mistakes. And I think the biggest mistakes I made early on were continually changing what I was trying to do. So have a way, this is what I've done since all the time, and it has seemed to work very well, is just have an approach that you want to try and do in a way you want to try and play. And then that's what you do in terms of bringing in your players, in terms of drafting, in terms of coaching, is all focused on that approach. So if you want a massive running game, then I formation, big fullback, lots of linemen, and just go coach them, forget about other things, just focus on those areas. And if you want inside running game, you get a really strong fullback. And if you want an outside running game, get a really quick high level halfback. And it can take a lot of time to do, but you just keep on for 2, 3, 4 seasons following the same approach, and then you will build up enough strengths to suddenly be quite potent at it. And that's like some of the players when I first joined, like some of them, like Amy, the running back, we may talk about him a little bit more later, but he was level 4 when we drafted him, but in the bowl runs he has been up to level 17. And it was that thing of, it took a lot of time. Do you know what I mean? You're coaching him season after season, every single week to try and get him there. But the approach I've followed is making sure I have a good halfback so I can have a good outside running game with a bit of inside. And he's the main man for that. So he gets the points, he gets the attention season after season after season, until I decide, okay, there's enough of this and the team's falling off a cliff. But in the meantime, we follow that approach. And so what we do offensively and defensively is very similar year after year, and you build up loads of extra experience. The players all get extra levels in that way, and those little increments just really add up over time. So I think that's the the thing I'd say for a new coach: get your ideas for what you want to try and do, and then don't be afraid to just follow it through for 3-4 seasons, because you will lose a lot to start with while you're getting used to it and while you're building up your players. But once they reach a certain point, suddenly you'll start winning a lot of games and you'll think, oh, this is really cool.
Well, thanks, Conrad. I don't know about anybody else, but that certainly helps me.
Yeah, to me as well.
Yeah, Tad, what questions have you got for Conrad?
Well, first I want to say congratulations, Conrad. And
Thanks,
if anybody who doesn't know, I believe, I could be wrong, you can find all these good, cool stat guys out there, but I believe that you and your son will be the first father-son coaches in G3 history to both win a Super Bowl in the same season. So I want to say congratulations to you and to you.
Fantastic. Cheers, Dad.
All right. Well, my first question is, how surprised and or happy were you when you actually picked up Emu with the 11th pick in the 4th round? Because I tell you, if I was in the Big Sky at that time, well, actually, before I even get there, when I was preparing for this interview, I looked up Emu and I was like, wow, round 4, pick 11, a level 4 guy. It's like, that's not really have to have a pick, especially as a perfect QST. It's like, I'm looking at my team. It's like, dude, if I was in that draft, I would have taken him in the 3rd round. Yes, people think it's crazy, but look what you just did with them. So what do you think about him?
I'm so with you on that. I think normally I would have just grabbed him happily around earlier. It's that thing of in another era, it was actually in time in the GFL, grabbed an identical level 460 quick in round 2 in the GFL, because it's that thing of, I think at quick running backs in particular, the amount of total quickness is so important. So the difference between a 55 quick and a 60 quick guy, when you reach high levels, actually is massive. It's really big. So that 5 difference is what, 5 from 55 to 60. That's what, 5 out of 55 is about 9-10% odd difference. So if you've got a guy who's level 15 60 quick, it's roughly the same as a guy who's 17 55 quick. So where I look at it and think, well, a guy like Emu was brilliant. He was a steal at that point. I was really chuffed, because those 60 quick guys, they are really rare. They're really valuable. And if you can get them up to, as I said, the aim for him has always been to get him up to 17. And every year he'll age down. And then I try and coach him back up if I can. And some years he'll make it, others he won't. But it's that thing of the 60 quick is so punchy that, yeah, getting him in round 4 I was absolutely chuffed on that, because I have in the past had to pay a lot more and draft them a lot higher. But I think in that draft, there was quite a lot of good QST guys who fell down. So managed to kind of snag him there. And the rest is history.
Awesome. Well, I say congratulations on that pick, because you couldn't go wrong with him. What's the one thing that makes you tick, or what's the word you guys use over there? Chuffed? Is that the word?
Yeah.
What makes you think? What's the one thing that you can tell other coaches that maybe that you do that makes you such a great coach?
Well, I don't know about great coach, but it's that thing of, I think it's, if I look at it, whenever in the off-season planning and also during the season, it's my view on it is that the little bits add up, and all the little increments, whether it be off-season, when you're just trying to improve your roster a little bit, or during the season when you're game planning, trying to work out what someone else might be doing and trying to come up with your tactics. But I think all of that adds up. So every little bit on offense, defense, and special teams, and having a plan even on special teams as well, that you're going to follow through with, who you're going to use on special teams all season to build up their experience, that kind of thing. But also on that game planning to just think, okay, week to week, are there little increments I can improve on and tinker with? Because if you play a team who's miles better than you in terms of strength, you'll get hammered anyhow. There's nothing, do you know what I mean? There's nothing you can do about it. But when the teams are quite close, I think that's when all these little things make a difference. So how you set up your special teams makes a big difference, and how you've game planned with those little differences in stances, that's what can bring you from just losing a game to just winning a game. And there's been games where I've looked and thought I've either ended up at the end of the game half a yard short at the end, or where we've won with the last second by half a yard. And those games, I look and think, if you've stanced slightly differently, you would have either lost the game you won or vice versa. And it's all that detail almost, just making sure that you think each week is going to be different and adjust accordingly. I think those increments really, really do help. So that's what I try and do each week, is to have a look and think for each opponent, it's worth tinkering a little bit. And in the off season, I kind of think every small addition helps. Even if it's only a little bit of improvement, it all adds up.
Sweet. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Patrick.
Yeah. Also echoing my appreciation for you being here, and congratulations as well. So yeah, my question is, you talked a little bit about the different zones and to attack on offense, but my question is more generally, what's your read on the current Big Sky offensive kind of meta game, the zones that are being attacked? I think we see these ebbs and flows over the years on different things. What is your read on how people are attacking offensively right now? And this follow on to that is, do you force your player acquisitions to match the meta you believe is the right one to attack, or do you kind of adapt to what you have?
That's interesting. I think for me, because I kind of almost was starting from scratch, I've forced the players into the approach that I've wanted to follow. So just decided, okay, I want to actually have some fun throwing long. And so we built a deep pass offense. And then the running game was mostly outside. And it's just, again, for a bit more variety to be able to attack other things. We brought in Monk a couple of seasons back, but he's very old. So every year in aging is a lottery whether he'll fall off a cliff on that. But I think the overall was, though, it was an approach, and we get the players that fit that approach rather than anything else. So there's been drafts where great guys have dropped, and I just completely ignore them, because if they're not the kind of that like quick wide receiver, for example, there's no point doing it unless they're 75 minimum or 80 quick. I'm not going to touch them with a basketball, because our approach is we want those speedsters. So I think it's very much that have the approach and then the players fit the approach. And that's how I'll draft and that's how I'll trade in, rather than trying to fit to what's there. I kind of just think, well, anything that isn't there, I just won't bring in. I'll just very much focus on the particular scheme that we're trying to do.
Back, maybe I should have asked two questions and given you time, but back then to the offensive meta, like what's your read on the Big Sky and what they're attacking right now? Yeah,
see, I think there's a lot of short zone that seems quite as though it's been short zone for many years, and you've had teams who follow that for many, many years. But I think, to me, at the moment, with the rules as they are, the most unstoppable offense, I don't know, in my opinion at the moment, is a long zone passing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think those really, when you look at the receiving stats at the end of the year, apart from Tripson, who is just the freak of nature, all the other ones are deep zone receivers, every single one. All the kind of like 18, 1900, 2000 yards, they're all super quick receivers. And what I think is hard is when they're at home, it's really hard to stop them, because at home you have the home advantage, means there's less auto incomplete, stuff like that. And for deep passing, that makes a massive difference. So I've tried everything against things like the Maroons with they've got a great deep zone receiver, and he rips me to shreds. And it's that thing, if I double cover, and I've got this year, I've had some really good levels at the two corners, the main one covering him and the one double covering, and he rips me to shreds. It's like, I'm thinking, oh wow, it's incredible. And so I think those deep zone, really good deep zone receivers at the moment are really, really hard to stop. Whereas almost any other position, whether it be short zone receivers, outside runners, inside runners, if you've got good team strength and you stance them, that combination means you will stop them, or at least slow them down massively. Whereas I think on the best deep zone receivers, if you're away from home, it's just the case of damage limitation. There's nothing I've managed to find anyhow to stop them. I think that maybe if you had a ferocious pass rush, then that would just get the QB on his back all the time and he wouldn't have time. But then you need a beast at right end or whatever, and to get hold of them is really expensive and really hard. So that's tricky. But I think at the moment, yeah, that's interesting. I think that's the area that you could take advantage of. But in the Big Sky as a whole, I think there's, yeah, the legacy really good teams. Again, things like Packers, Eagles, and now what's been happening in the other conference. And if you look at the Buccaneers for many years, they've been short zone as well. There's been lots of that whole kind of short pass attacks. But I'll be intrigued if, yeah, going forward, if there's a few more long because of how successful these receivers are being.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for that answer. How do you think the Big Sky overall values special teams?
It's really like I love special teams. I must admit, you'd probably say I've overdrafted returners and stuff in the past, but I think whether it be special teams or whether you're using your receivers at special teams, whatever, to help your returns, all adds up. But to me, again, it's those increments, because if you can get an extra 3, 4, 5 yards on every punt return and kick return, that adds up over the course of a game. And again, if you've got good strengths and you can reduce the other returner on the other side by 3, 4, 5 yards, that adds up over the course of a game. So I think they're massively important in gridiron, really, on that. With field position, I know our field position in the bowl game, I think Tad had mentioned it before, was amazing in that half the drives started in the opponent's half. And that's a combination, though, of the special teams being good, but also, honestly, the defense was on fire for a lot of that game. So again, if they were starting at their 20, get a 3 and out, then even with a 40-yard punt, we return it 10 and we're at halfway. It was like that. So the field position has been a combination, I think, of really good special teams, but also the defense playing so well has kind of given us good field position. But overall, I don't know. Again, to me, it's kind of, to get to a good special teams isn't that much effort and that much coaching to get a good level, even if not a great level, but a good level. The difference between that and some of if you're returning at 2, 3, 4, 5 a return or whatever, that's a massive difference over the course of the game, and it doesn't cost you much in coaching to catch up that difference. So I kind of think, yeah, it probably should take a bit more priority for a lot of teams if they can, because yeah, over the course of a game, it's massive.
Yeah, no, thank you for that answer. It's the special teams, the things people don't generally talk about. So my last question is one, just because it intrigues me. It's, who do you consider a hidden star on your roster? One that is invaluable to what you do and your strategy, but that just really doesn't make the stat sheet, or at least it's low down enough that people don't talk about them.
Yeah, well, I've got one, although he's kind of got like a mirror image as well, and I'd say it's probably my tight end, who is Runjay, so Rocket Runjay, and he's now just checking up, he's age 4 now, and he was a round 1 pick, so I picked him kind of lower half of round 1. He was a 5 quality 60 strong tight end, and he's also got this ace tight end attribute, and he was one of the reasons why I play a lot of ace. And in the same draft, I got a slightly less strong but similar kind of guy. And Runjay now, he's coached up and aged. He's actually been one of the ones who's aged really nicely and coached up well. And he's currently 17. Mm-hmm. So he's a brick at tight end. He caught last year, 5 receptions? That's it. And his career high is 8 in a season. So on the stat sheets, you would never know. But if I look and think how many yards and breaks he's created for Emu, it's just frightening. And if you look up the play-by-plays, every game you'll see multiple ones where it is, and it makes a comment on the block he's made.
That's awesome.
And he is fabulous at that. And it's that thing of, I reckon at that kind of level and strength, he's probably adding a yard a carry to our run figures. And it's, again, that whole thing of increments and the fact that having someone like him, he's just the hidden gem. He just, no one would know, but he's just bulldozing holes play after play after play that Emu can just run behind. And he's worth hundreds and hundreds of yards to me over the course of a season. He's just been fabulous. And I've got the other tight end, again, is a strong one who, because I'm throwing deep, I don't really care about receiving on the tight end. So it's all about strength for that. And yeah, the impact, again, because he's 60 strong, every level you get on him has a good bit of punch.
That's great. Thank you so much for your answers. And also, thank you for coming to the BS of the Week, number 4. Awesome big Sky Bowl special. And thank you for Kevin to reaching out to you and getting you here. But we really appreciate you being here and hope it's not the last time. So
no, that's great. Thanks for having me. That's great.
Yeah. So now we're gonna hand it off to Tad for some reminders.
All right. One of the reminders is you still have a Hall of Fame. So if you have anybody you did not nominate yet, if you want to, go ahead. You can still do some poaching as long as you stay away from my roster, my coaches. That'd be cool. Thank you. And then hopefully tomorrow we still will get the draft list, and then from there those trade boards will probably be popping and hopping, and a lot of emails going through. So let's hopefully that it comes out tomorrow, and we'll all be happy. And back to you, Patrick.
Yeah, well, I'm going to pass it off to Kevin, actually, to talk to us about the next episode.
Oh, sorry, Kev.
Okay, no problems, Dad. Okay, basically, guys and gals, next episode is going to depend very much upon when the draft comes out, because what we are going to do is we're going to do a pre-draft show, and we're going to get a couple more guests on board. So whenever the draft comes out, 1 week later, we're hoping to have a pre-draft show where we start to analyze who's available. So we're all looking forward to that. So don't miss it. Okay, Patrick, back to you.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Kevin. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This has been such a fun experience. It's fun to know or to think about. This is the 4th episode. I also, I've been hearing some rumors of some other cool articles coming soon, and so I'm excited to see that and really get the excitement building for Big Sky, and hopefully in a couple seasons we'll start challenging our special guest Conrad for some bowl games. So
Excellent.
Now that he's given us the secret sauce, but no, thank you all so much, and we hope that everyone has an awesome week, and we see you soon with the draft update. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Excellent. Cheerio. Cheers.